And welcome to another edition of On the Hash with Hatfield as we stream to you on a Friday in December. We've made it from August, those hot, humid days of the summertime, and now it is cold outside. And trust me, I've been out and about around Hampton Roads. We got to get started on our Christmas shopping here. 24 days left until Christmas, but a lot of teams hoping and wishing and praying they're going to get that state championship coming up as a win on Saturday for the teams playing in the high school football playoffs. It will propel them on to the state finals. They'll be played at UVA in Division 6 and Division 5. They'll be played at Liberty University in Division 4 and Division 3. And, of course, at Class 2 and Class 1, Salem will be the location for that. Before we get to the matchups with the state semifinals coming up on Saturday, all 12 of the state semifinal matchups, 2 in each of the 6 classes from Class 6 down to Class 1, coming up on Saturday across the state. And we'll give you the lineup and the bracket for all that. We want to recap a little bit of what transpired in the high school football playoffs when it comes to round number 3, the region championship round. We talked about a little bit of it during our 757 Saturday Sports Talk last Saturday with yours truly and the coach, Ed Young. Again, like, share, and subscribe to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We're also streaming on Facebook, on X or Twitter at 757 Sports Talk, and available all the time on virginiapreps.com, your one-stop resource for everything high school sports, whether it's football, basketball, so much more. We've got you covered with all kinds of various sports, from football to field hockey to lacrosse and soccer, with the folks at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex and Regional Training Center with Hometown Sports Productions. But a couple of games that took place on Saturday of note. You had a big one in Class 4 with Verina and King George. King George outlasted them. The Foxes stay unbeaten, so you get an unbeaten matchup with Phoebus and King George in Class 4. The Phantoms took down an undefeated foe in Warhill. You'll hear from Coach Jeremy Blunt of the victorious Phantoms after their 41-13 win over Warhill. But you also had a big showdown in Norfolk on Friday night. We played back our interview with Autori Newkirk, the sizzling quarterback for the Commodores of Maury High School. Maury's got a matchup with a 7-5-7 team. That's where we're going to start things off. You've got a only matchup with local teams colliding in the state semis from the Hampton Roads area, where we're based out of here in Virginia Beach. You have a game in Norfolk at Powhatan Field. The last couple of years, Maury had to go to Virginia Beach to take on Green Run. Well, not the case this year, because Indian River knocked off Green Run 10-7. Their defense has been really, really good, but the offense has upticked to about 10 more points per game during this 7-game winning streak. Remember, Braves were once upon a time 3-3 on the year. They opened up with a loss to Verina, won 3 in a row. Then they lost back-to-back heartbreakers to Kings Fork, which had an unbeaten regular season out of the Southeastern District, lost in the regional semis to Warwick, and then lost on a touchdown pass on the final play to Oscar Smith as the freshman Lonnie Andrews III found the sophomore Travis Johnson. But Brandon Carr's group has held it together. They beat Green Run to hold them to 1 score. First team to do that all year, to hold the Stallions, who average over 42 a game, to just 7 points, single digits. And Noah Martinez booted through the game-winning field goal. If you missed our interview with Brandon Carr, it's up on our podcast page with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We had him on during 757 Saturday Sports Talk towards the end of the show for all of you to go check it out, all you Braves fans out there, to hear what he had to tell us. But now it means Indian River is going to take on Maury, and what an impressive performance Dyrri McCain's team put forth in the regional final over at Chile Powhatan last Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Autori Newkirk was special, as we talked about. The defense was really good, and now it's 6 straight regional titles for the Commodores of Maury High School. Dyrri McCain led the Commodores to a state championship in 2019 over Stonebridge at Hampton University. They've lost the last 2 in dramatic fashion a couple years ago on the final play to Stonebridge. Jacob Thomas finding Zeke Wimbush on a TD pass from about 38 yards out. The JMU Duke finding the Virginia Tech Hokie. And then last year they had some injuries with Peyton Jones and Kendall Daniels that certainly hurt their cause against a very good Highland Springs team that beat them by a couple of scores. And Highland Springs now competing in the Class 6 state semifinals after beating Manchester, as you saw scroll across our ticker. But anyhow, we caught up with Dyrri McCain of the Maury Commodores to get his thoughts after the win, as they are 2 wins away from the program's 2nd state title in literally just a span of 5 years here. And let's hear what Coach McCain told us after the win. It is On the Hash with Hatfield. All right, here with Maury head football coach Dyrri McCain. His Commodores win it today over the Warwick Raiders 48-20 in the Region 5B championship. Coach, 366 yards of offense and more points and a half than Warwick's defense had given up in the previous 12 games coming in. But knowing you like I do, 6 straight region championship, this is just another day at the office, isn't it?
Definitely. That's not the goal that's set out. But it's good for the program and for the kids to push the six straight. A lot of guys that we have like Fred Johnson and Devontae Floyd and Christian Murphy and those guys have kind of been around the block. Out of those six, they've won three of them. So it's just the building blocks of what was built before them, and for those guys to continue it on. So I'm proud of those guys. It wasn't the biggest goal, but I'm proud of the way we played.
How proud, too, are you that you responded from a little bit of adversity? You get the first lead here, first three plays, you get on the field, touchdown pass, and then they block a punt. It's 7-6. You didn't blink from there. I think you scored the next 35 points going into halftime, and you guys were razor sharp from there. It was just the calmness of the group, the experience and maturity. What did you see after that point?
It's like what I talked about all year. We faced a lot of adversity throughout the years, and the group of guys that we have, they've been a part of a lot of it. You talk about the 2 state championship losses. You talk about some of the 7-on-7s that we played this year, facing those things. And I talked to them guys before the game. I mean, we talk about that game stretch that we had with Wise, Highland Springs, and Dinwiddie. We were tied in one of those games at half. We were up in one of those games at half, and we were down. And then what? The majority of the team lost in those 2 state titles. So there's nothing that these guys haven't seen. And when that happens, I mean, hey, they scored because they blocked the punt, and then they scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Calm down, we're okay.
Sure.
And that's what happened.
A lot was certainly built up about the offense. Your offense averaging over 59 points per game. Their defense going up just 3 coming in. But I feel like your defense got a little motivated from that coming in. And we know about some of the headline guys like the Ari Watfords, the Fred Johnson, who was defensive player here in the Eastern District, the Kendall Daniels, the Ike Simmons. You got some other guys like Leslie Hines, Marquavian Morris. I thought they set the tone as that second quarter onslaught came for you all.
Yeah, I think we just, we talk about like we play a great brand of team ball. And that's on both sides of the ball. I think when people talk about our offense, yes, Torrey Newkirk is the quarterback, so obviously he's going to get the praise, but there's a lot of guys. You got Melvin Lowe, you got LeBron Bond, you got Fred Johnson, you got Damari Palmer, you got Leon Clark. So it's just a bunch of guys. And then same thing defensively. You talk about the Aries and the Fred Johnsons, but you got Leslie Hines, you got Ike Simmons, you got Dylan Gold, you got Levante Bond. So, it just speaks volume of guys just buying into team ball, and I think we've done a good job of that in the program.
You got a lot of quarterbacks set up some pretty big numbers and established themselves. This youngster, Torrey Newkirk, who was a JV player last year, now a varsity starter, and he's been unbelievable this year, coming in 34 touchdowns, just 4 picks, 10 TD runs tonight in the first half. He's 12 of 16, 222. But the way he keeps plays alive with his feet, and also when you go empty, he can run it. He does a lot of different things when you spread people out. It's just, is that some of that what you coach him up to do is also instinctively? What do you see that's different about other quarterbacks you've had that sets him apart and makes him so special?
I guess to answer the first question, I just think that he has a special ability. I think that he understands football well. I think that he's very coachable. He not even just the system itself, like what we do. I think that he's wanted to learn and be know the game, be a student of the game, and that's what I feel like that he does, a lot better than most that I've had. And that's not shading anybody that I have had, but also his ability to take coaching. He as good and well as the year that he's had. He's always yes sir, no sir, and always upping his teammates, and he just brings that energetic edge that the guys love him. You could tell with a quarterback when he's special, when his team loves him, and not just certain guys. His team loves him. The coaches, we love him, and I'm glad that I have a Torrey Newkirk, no question.
But that starts in the offseason, doesn't it, in a lot of ways?
Yeah, and he put in the work. He talked about it last year. He was a JV guy last year, and he just went in the offseason, just put in major work, showed up to every workout, wanted to be better. He's very I think we kind of share the perfectionist trait, because whenever he's not right, it's not like he doesn't get down on himself, but he's so wanting to be locked in, and I think we're on the same page with just understanding what we're trying to do to opponents, understanding the game plan. He tries to outdo me with play calls and stuff like that. So, he just has this special ability when it comes to understanding the game.
The competitive edge certainly helps with your 2 wins away from the state championship. Last 2 for you. They have the ball almost the entire third quarter except one play, but in the fourth quarter, you have a freshman out there, Matt Williams, who you told me at that Highland Springs game. He's going to be special, Matt. Elijah Moss tonight, sophomore, who stepped into a bigger role with one of your receivers going down early in the year. He has over 100 yards receiving tonight as like the third, fourth, fifth option. Some nights, you got a lot of youngsters who are getting a lot of playing time and growing, getting some valuable experience during the playoff run.
No question. I think that's what it's been in the program. I think you talk about the Devontae Floyds who played as a freshman. You talk about the Fred Johnsons who played as a freshman. Christian Murphy who played as a sophomore, and Josh Powell who played as a freshman. So, and you see these guys now, and just the experience, the crowd, the moment is never going to be too big. And when it's Elijah Moss's time and Matt Williams' time, it's not going to be anything that they haven't seen before. Being in it and actually giving production in the game. So I'm proud of those young Bucks.
And shout out to Powell. He had the Madden video game juke of the night. Lastly, Indian River coming up in the region championship, not Green Run for a third straight year. Your thought on that? It's a surprise to some, but you know how good that defensive front is, and you saw them in your 7-on-7 passing league.
Yeah. Whatever opponent wanted to be there next week, we plan to be there. We know the goal. So we know that we're here. We're glad that we're here. So what is it, Indian River? We got to come to play. But so do they. So we got a task that we got to take care of because we know the ultimate goal. So whether it was going to be Green Run or Indian River, we didn't care. We just knew that we wanted to be here next Saturday.
Coach McCain's Commodores one step closer to state championship Saturday at UVA. Thank you so much. Congrats on the win. We'll see you again soon.
Matt.
Appreciate it. So that was Dyrri McCain on the Hash with Hatfield. As you see it cover my face here back on the podcast. The Commodores now 13-0 on the year. And the thing that jumps out at me about Maury, besides their offense, which is putting up close to 60 points per game, the fact that they now have a defense that can be so opportunistic and just really just overwhelm people. I mean, Warwick in this game, though they had some pretty good numbers, to look at my stat sheet from the game, 12 of 28 through the air, 109 yards passing. The running game never got going for them. I mean, they finished up with about 60 yards on the ground for the night. And that's not going to get it done against just about anybody at this level, the way Maury can score in the blink of an eye. And they've got 15 defensive touchdowns this year, which is just staggering. And none of them between Leslie Hines and Fred J.R. Johnson, the South Carolina commit, who was an earlier Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week recipient. So there you have it. They're going to be hard to deal with for Indian River. They're going to also be hard to deal with should they win that game, as we expect them to probably do in the state finals, whether it's Matoka or Stonebridge. They have just so many weapons and even had an injury to a receiver in Giovanni Wiggins, but they still come at you with Josh Powell, LeBron Bond, Johnson, Elijah Moss, just a bunch of different guys that can catch the football, and a three-headed monster really in the backfield. When you look at Leon Fatman Clark, Damari Palmer, and Melvin Lowe, two of those guys will be back in Clark and Palmer. A couple of new faces that were juniors. That defensive front's going to be very tough for Indian River's offensive line, which did not have a first-team all-region performer. Did have a second-team all-region lineman that will block them. And Indian River's defense will pose some potential issues for Maury. We shall see if that does affect Newkirk's rhythm and timing throwing the football down the field. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with the interview with Jeremy Blunt after their win over Warhill on Saturday last week at Darling Stadium, which was very frigid as well. And then we'll also hear from Brentsville District Coach Loren White, who will join us. He's got a son going to William & Mary to play his college football in a big matchup coming up with the Lafayette Rams. It is on the Hash with Hatfield at the Plex. You can follow us on our Twitter page or X page at 757 Sports Talk. Make sure you log on to the Virginia Beach Sportsplex website, the YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe to that. And we'll come back with just a little bit more here after this break. We hear from a couple of the sponsors that make it possible for us to do this with you each and every week from the Plex. Stay tuned.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Man, I wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not?
Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You all right?
Hey, Grandpa!
Grandpa? I still got it.
22. 22.
Career game number 13. Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the game. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Back here on the Hash with Hatfield on this Friday night in December. As we talk to you before the state semifinal games, we'll give you a chance to look at some of those matchups we've got coming up in the state semifinals. For those of you that have not seen what the matchups are that we've got coming up, well, we've got some good ones all across the entire state of Virginia. We'll actually give you a little closer look at it here with our share screen as we now look at it in depth here with Zoom in for you here. We'll go from the Class 6 to Class 1. We got the interview coming up with Jeremy Blunt in just a second, but just see Highland Springs and Lake Braddock will be squaring off in the state semis on Saturday. Freedom of Woodbridge, which beat Madison in last year's state championship, they'll be taking on each other in that game. That's an interesting one there to see if Madison has closed the gap at all. You also have in Class 5 Maury Indian River, which we just spoke about a moment ago. Stonebridge trying to get to the championship round for the 12th time under Coach Mickey Thompson, and they could run into Maury for the third time since 2019. They have to beat Matoka first, though, in order to get there and be successful when it comes to the state semifinal round, which they have been pretty successful. I think 11-4 is their record historically in the state semifinal round. You have in Class 4, Phoebus unbeaten, King George unbeaten. Should be a dandy at Darling Stadium in Hampton. We'll have Will Garlick and Dan the Man Trevino taking photos, documenting everything for us at Darling on Saturday for us at virginiapreps.com. Tuscarora, Salem. Hard to believe Tuskegee unbeaten, one of the quietest unbeatens all year long. Dawson Powell on offense. You've got, obviously, Fletcher Westfall in the trenches. He is a Florida commit. We'll see what happens in that game against Salem. Has got a couple of big-time studs in Chris Cole and Peyton Lewis. Lewis going to Tennessee as a running back. Cole as a linebacker to Georgia. Class 3, you got Lafayette, Brentsville District. Brentsville's going to be hosting that game. We've got Loren White coming up in just a bit here on the podcast. Liberty Christian hosting William Byrd. Gideon Davidson, one of the best in the state when it comes to running the football. He is a commit to the Clemson Tigers. Easton Ware also commit to Clemson. And then you have in Class 2 and Class 1, Pecos and the Bull Islanders. We had Elliott Duty on the pod last week. They're going to take on Riverheads, which has won 7 consecutive state titles at the Class 1 level, now in Class 2 competing. And if they win there, they will get either Radford or Graham. Radford's hosting this game, but it's at Christiansburg. They've moved it due to some construction issues at Radford. So we'll see if that has any effect against the reigning state champion G-Men, who had a young man go for 300 yards plus rushing last week in Ty Drez Clements. Your Class 1 semifinals featuring Essex 13-0 taking on Alta Vista, who upset, if you will, Sussex Central behind LaDainian Stone and Mr. Pippin at quarterback. And then you've got Galax and Honaker, who's 13-0. Love the air raid attack for Honaker, as they should be quite formidable in that matchup. And for anybody, if they advance in the state final, whether it be Essex or Alta Vista. All right, we've got Jeremy Blunt, the head football coach of the Phoebus Phantoms. He spoke with us after their win against the Warhill Lions. They jumped out quickly in that game, 27-donut, and the defense was downright disruptive, as it has been all season long, but led by the Maryland commit Anthony Reddick in the trenches. Marcus Hobson, the two-way lineman, got a score. Here's what Coach Blunt told us after the win. It's on the Hash with Hatfield. All right, with Phoebus head football coach Jeremy Blunt. His Phantoms won the region championship yet again, 41-13 over the Warhill Lions. They're 13-0, and counting, the beat goes on now. 33 straight wins, I think it is now, Coach, and moving up from Class 3 to Class 4, no problem. Your defense was just lights out in the first half, and though they hit some pass plays throughout the contest a couple of times, you guys had that pass rush relentless all game long. What did you see as far as allowed you to kind of pin your ears back and do what you normally do, is take away what they like to do in terms of their connection with Edie and Francis to dominate the game, if you will?
Right, man, guys just executed the game plan. Defensively, we knew we were going to have a tall task. Warhill's been able to put up a lot of points this year. They move the ball very well. They have weapons that they can get the ball to. And, There were a few times those guys got the ball off in their hands, and we were able to recover and get them down. But they did challenge us. So it was all said and done, man. Execute the game plan, continue to apply pressure, and take care of each little individual detail.
Second straight year, starting quarterback goes down for you. Last year was Nolan James. Jaden Early came in for the state championship game. This year it is Maury Coach Banks, a freshman for Adonis Stowers. I think he completed his first 6 or 7 passes. He showed a lot of poise out there today in a playoff game, big atmosphere like this.
Yeah, man. I mean, we were pleased, man. The team rallied around him. Trent Mitchell was ready to go, and the two of them had an excellent week of practice, man. So we were extremely pleased with Reek and the way he was able to come in and handle his business.
How important, not just his passing ability and accuracy on some throws, it was covered well, but the precise routes that guys like Keontae Gray and Paul Stephen Davis who made some tough catches in traffic. How big was that to extend drives and convert some of those third downs and even the money down on fourth down for a touchdown?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, it was everything and we needed it. And the thing that's unique about Reek, man, Reek's been a part of our program since 8th grade. He's been working out with our offensive staff since 8th grade, man. So we knew eventually this moment was going to come. It came much sooner than we expected, but we had no doubt that the kid could step in and take care of his business.
How much does it put a smile on your face when you see second half, first play from scrimmage, a lineman who's a two-way stud, and Marcus Hobson gets a defensive score and a pick, and he had 2 takeaways in the quarter.
Yeah, he did, man. I tell you what, kind of came out of nowhere. He saw the screen happening, man, and he settled and connected to and did his job, man, and the ball ended up. He's a great athlete, man. You can line that kid up at receiver, and he'll go and run, catch the ball. So, kid's athletic, man.
Well, you worry about him. You got Anthony Reddick off the edge, taking people's heads off. Tayshawn Stevens on the other side. Then Brendan Thompson today quietly had, 8 or 9 tackles, but you see so much with Reddick and Stevenson. But a lot of times, Thompson's been making these splash plays for you all year long at linebacker. Just speak on his development if you can.
I tell you what, that linebacking core that we have with Caleb Tillery and Brendan Thompson is special, man. And, those guys have been playing together since they were young. They're experienced playing together last year through last year's state championship run. So, we have no doubt that they can get in there and take care of business. Brendan is he's a ball hawk, man, as is Caleb. So, when you have a defensive line that can do certain things, those guys can do some special things on the back end.
Hard running from Davion Roberts. I don't know that he's getting enough praise because Phoebus has a long lineage of running backs, as you know, the days of Sean Alston, Dennis Meth, and so many others. Is he starting to kind of cement himself with these games, getting 150 plus on the ground and stuff like that?
He's special, man.
Yeah.
We call him Bull for a reason. Okay. He is a little tank, and it was just one play where, at the top of the damn play, man, I mean, the kid picks up what he picks up, man. He carries like 5 guys.
Yes.
It was special, man. He's a strong kid.
You call him bowling ball, basically, right? Is that, or is a bull? Bull. Okay, gotcha. Last, I know you got to work on some things as far as snaps go, a couple pass plays through the air. So this is not a perfect game. What would you going to grade it? B+, A-, or would you give something else?
You know what? When I get back and look at the film, I'll be able to give a better, breakdown of what we did today. I think second half we kind of slowed down and got a little sloppy out there.
Stoppages affect a little bit.
Stoppages affected it. So and then we're facing a really good team, and they played a role as well. So.
Lastly, King George of Verona comes here to Darling Stadium, 1 win away from her state championship berth there at Liberty University in Lynchburg. They both present some challenges, different ones. Your thought on playing the next round, a chance to go back to the state finals?
It's going to be a dogfight, man. That's what we're expecting, and when you get this far into the playoffs, man, it's always about the best of the best. So, we don't shy away from the moment. We don't shy away from the opponent. We don't shy away from the opportunity. We just got to come in ready to go.
Well, Phoebus keeps getting it done on the big stage. Coach Blunt, thank you so much. Love us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
I think we need to marvel even more at what Phoebus has accomplished. That was Jeremy Blunt, the head coach of the Phantoms, after their very impressive workmanlike win over Warhill. They kept the Lions' running game bottled up. We talked about it with Maury against Warwick. Look at the running numbers, just 28 yards on the ground on 27 attempts. You're pretty much averaging, barely a yard or 2 a carry. You're not beating Phoebus. It's just that simple. And Davion Roberts did have a $120 on 18 attempts. And Maricus Banks, the freshman, really, really solid for them. But one thing that jumped out at me was, Phoebus, they do this, whether, they got a freshman at quarterback or a senior, they don't deviate from what they do. This is now their 14th regional championship in 23 years. I think we take this for granted how great they've been, from the late, great Bill D to Stan Sexton and now Jeremy Blunt, a former state champion player who's now got 6 regional championships, and they're trying to win. I think they've won 9 state titles since 2001. So this will be their 10th if they get 2 more wins. And King George is going to pose some problems because their passing game had almost 400 yards against Dinwiddie in the regional semis, 2 awesome receivers in Mekhi White and Chance Wiggins. Now Phoebus says, so what? We've got to be able to, make them block us. And that's going to be the test, the challenge coming up for the Phantoms. of Phoebus, for the Foxes of King George, if they can deal with the Phantoms of Phoebus in that pass rush that is so ferocious, led by Reddick and Stevenson. And then you have also collapse in the pocket from the middle area, Nathaniel Anthony. You've also got just a boatload of guys. That Thompson has been great from linebacker. So it's going to be a real chore to see if they can deal with all those guys that Phoebus can bring. And if they get singled up one-on-one, what will happen? That's a real good chess match coming up. But also coming up in Class 3 over at Brentsville District, the Tigers under Loren White will be playing host to the Lafayette Rams, who are rolling right now, coming off a 49-0 shellacking of Heritage of Newport News last week, as Andy Lynn's Rams have been great running the football with Nazir Walmart and James Spencer. And they got Breon Stokes and Daniel Jackson and Peter Cook really getting after people, making tackles for loss and sacks. What's going to happen in that matchup? Well, we've got Loren White coming up in just a bit here on the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we give you all kinds of updates when it comes to high school football and sports around the 757. But right now, let's hear from some of the sponsors that make it possible for us to do this with you each and every week. Stay tuned.
I grew up here. I know this town. I know the people here. More important, they know me. As a banker at Town Bank, we become part of the communities we serve. The people who bank with us, our members, know us. When you bank with Town Bank, you'll know your banker. You'll know you can reach us, and you'll know we're here for you.
That's the DQ Cheeseburger Lovers Deal. 2 singles for $5 or 2 doubles for $7 for a limited time. So, how is it? Deal this good speaks for itself, I guess. DQ, happy tastes good.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar, IV hydration and vitamin therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
And welcome back to On the Hash with Hatfield here as we stream here on this final week of the November slate into December as we get ready for some state semifinal football games this weekend. And we're so kind to be joined by the head football coach at Brentsville District. What a job he has done there in just a few years. Loren White, so kind to be with us after his team's thrilling win in the Region 3B championship. They're headed back to the state semifinals for the 3rd consecutive year, and they've got a matchup against a team from the Hampton Roads area. A lot of fans in our area in the 757 But Coach, congrats on another great season. It was another heart-stopping win for your team in the regional playoffs to get to the state playoffs again, and you're used to this the last couple of years, aren't you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, just blessed to be back 3 times in a row. This last one, hats off to Armstrong. It's a very talented athletic group from there, but we did what we did to come out at the end, able to get our 3rd regional title from that point, and then get back to the steps where we've been the past 3 years, and finally get together the stuff this week to be able to go play a hard Lafayette team.
Correct me if I'm wrong, was it last year or the year before you had a regional semifinal championship game that went down to the wire just like this one that you had with Armstrong, which we'll get to in just a second, as well as looking ahead to your game coming up here with the Lafayette Rams in the state semis. So this is something that's no new experience for you and your kids, is it?
No. It was, I believe, the first year, Meridian just being down, and I think it was like 7 or 10 seconds left, whatever, and they get that screen press off the Bryce Jackson. And the temperature was it was colder that night, but it felt just as cold this past Friday too. So definitely wintertime, football feeling, football environment, big game. So our kids have responded year to year. So I'm happy to be here. We just got keep executing going forward week to week.
And the hero for you in the game, if I'm not mistaken, Tyler Owens, who hadn't caught a pass the entire game. He's been a key playmaker, which we'll touch on for you all year long. But 7 seconds to go. You're in a seesaw battle with Armstrong, who didn't have its coach in the game. You had a 21-6 lead. You ended up getting behind 28-21. Take me through that play as he ends up becoming the hero there at the end. And it was pandemonium, I imagine, on your field there for that finish.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, stands and everything from that point. But to get down that, like you said, we're up ahead, and they came back and made great plays, and we just adjusted well from that point what we were trying to do. We just had an opportunity, which they, I thought they were going to punt it to us. They ran out the back of the end zone, gave the safety to us. Then from there, we had the chance to get a drive where it was a lot of Nico and Trent. And then from there, throwing passes. I think Tyler first caught his first one for a first down. I think it was like 3rd and 7. He caught like a pass for 12. And then, it came to the point where we had, I think it was like, 12 seconds, 14 seconds or something like that. That came down to my offensive coordinator, Jesse Jackson. He just saw the advantage there. Everybody's going to expect Nico to get it. He was already toting it a lot for that drive down there. So we had a formation to go out. We had Langston and we had McCullough come in. And then the defender was with Tyler first. And then he tripped and fell down. And Trent was able to get away from the pressure and a great throw over there. And when he caught it, I mean, it was just pandemonium from the stands and the sideline when they're crazy. So big play from Tyler. He's been steady for us all year. I know he gets a lot of attention from defenses and opens up a lot of stuff for everybody else. But, I mean, if somebody's going to clutch it at the end, you definitely want it in his hands.
What's different, Coach, about this team as opposed to the last 2 years? I know you had to run into that juggernaut that was Phoebus and still is with arguably the best defense in the entire state, any division. The way they have just been shellacking people. But I'm sure your kids gained something from those experiences, the maturity. You brought back a lot of key players like Nico Orlando, Caleb Alexander, Tyler Owens, your son Langston, who is a commitment to William & Mary to play his college football defensive backbone part. What have you seen different about this year's team than the 2022 and 2021 editions of Brentsville District Football?
With this group, I mean, it's like you said, a lot of those names, but especially our core guys with Caleb, Nico, Langston, Trent, Sebastian Hansford, who's our center, and all those are our 5 captains that we have. I mean, this group been together since I first got the job, and they know the culture and the way we want the program to be like, and what they molded in their minds of what Brentsville District football should be. So just from year to year, seeing those guys grow in the off season and you make strides to get the attention of colleges that they have, especially with Langston and Nico and Caleb, from that point. But just being in vision what they want this program to be, hats off to them and seeing and trusting me along the way and the staff to continue to build this program the way we want it to be there. So, I mean, it's great seeing it grow from that point. And, of course, when those guys are ready to go, then other groups up and they'll be in the system and ready to grow. So it's good to see the program continue to grow. And like I said, with numbers, from our first year, being 2 programs on like 60 to now being in a program with 2 programs together make 100. So, I mean, it's love seeing it. The more people come out, the more people want to be part of the program. And then this is by far one of the best communities for sports there is. So it's always great looking behind you, seeing the crowd too.
That's awesome. You've had a couple of rivalry games into the regular season, which we'll touch on too, with Kettle Run, who was in the state championship a year ago in Class 4, moving down to your region in 3B. We're chatting with Loren White. He's the head football coach at Brentsville District. 3 consecutive regional championships. Are getting ready to play a host to Lafayette, 2 o'clock Saturday in the state semifinals for a chance to go to Liberty University in the state championship in Class 3 against the winner of the matchup between Liberty Christian, the Region 3C champions, and William Byrd, the Terriers, the Region 3D champs. It's on the hash here with Hatfield. I want to know about coaching your son, what it's been like these last few years for you and for him. He's going to William & Mary. He's certainly having a great year, 93 total tackles as it's starting to scroll across our ticker here, the stats for you guys this year, 7 sacks, couple of forced fumbles, 2 picks. He's an all-state level performer. And I know it's got to be bittersweet that this is going to be coming to the end either this week or in the state championship. You'd rather it be next week, of course, but the finality is going to be coming soon for these last couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to do. I mean, that group, especially him, he knows it all. He's got, his mind 2 weeks, and then he's done high school football and then on to the point of the stage from there. But it's been great. A lot of people ask me you've been doing all your life. I'd never coached someone in younger sports. I mean, I had other people that I trusted before and had great programs. Whether his first sport when he played soccer or anything like that, I didn't coach him at all until we got to the high school, and it just worked out the way with the first year being a Patriot, and then from here on being at Brentsville. So it's been a bittersweet thing, as you know, father and son. You get on each other's nerves stuff, but we have it in line. You go home and it's basically back to I'm dad and he's son, and talk from that point and everything like that. So, but we get along well with everything going. Sometimes he has selective hearing, but what teenage kid doesn't? So it's great.
Yeah, you have to at some point, I think, just to tune not just not the coach part out, but the dad part out, because you're wanting the excellence out of him, perfection, if you will. Your team's been really good this year, Coach. Let's talk about just the season in general before we get to the Lafayette matchup. Nico Orlando's a big part of your offense. You have an injury we'll also hit on here in a second with a quarterback who's been superb for you. But at what point in the year did you feel like this team was getting to that point? Because you did have a loss early in the year. I think it was to Millbrook. Was there much of a adversity for that group from that? And what did you learn from the defeat? And give me kind of maybe a turning point on your journey here, if you can.
No, I mean, we felt that we knew high expectations coming to the year with this being a group that's been together for 3 years and just being, filling in different spots. We've always been a strong run game team, but I think this year we were able to spread it out a little bit more with Caleb having a more secure thing of the offense and having the most, viable guys outside with Owens and Hayes was outside, McCullough stepping up, and Vonderhaar at tight end, and then being able to still bring in rotation Blake Fletcher and Langston and other guys. So you got weapons around him, so that makes him more versatile than people to put 8 people in the box and stop Nico. But now we were able to throw it out, so I caught a lot of people off guard. And then defensively, just to have guys step up this year and just be, to the grain and trust the scheme and the system is great going from there. So I think pretty much from that point, especially after that Millbrook one, which was a weird situation because you play Friday and then everybody across the state had thunderstorms and you're thinking, okay, can you push to Saturday? And then it's the refereeing situation. We couldn't play Saturday. Nobody could play Sunday. You play Monday, and then the Monday's got to be at like 5 o'clock. And, Millbrook ain't no short drive for us at all. Like I tell everybody, a lot of our games are like playing, D3 college. We travel. So, we get out of school at 2:05 and it's immediately on the road. So I think that adversity to it took a lot, but there's no excuse. We laced them up at time. We had opportunities. We made penalties. Bad here from there, and then they were able to capitalize in overtime in the day. So I think a lot of stuff was wake-up call to us to make sure we're always on cue, always ready to go. And I think from there we adapted and even brought that boys group together. But I think pretty much the big one that I've seen that we are now rolling with is basically with the kettle run game and finally getting that one and then seeing the boys, the preparation, the focus that week. I think it's been the same way going since that point. I think they're really locked in right now. It's a dangerous group when they're locked in.
Well, the thing that got me, Coach, about your game with Kettle Run, which I thought was going to be a toss-up because I figured you would play them twice. I actually thought you might see them in the region championship as opposed to the region semifinals. You end up beating them, I think it was 31-13 the first go-around, 28-7 the second time. The first go-around, you got down in that game. You threw for $146 with Alexander. You also ran for close to 200 yards with Nico and Caleb, but then your defense got a pick 6 from Tyler Owens, Langston, Nico, Trent Hayes. All those guys made some tackles for you. It felt like you really made some good adjustments on the fly against a Kettle Run offense that folks don't know with Colton Quaker and that ground attack. They're hard to keep down. You did it not once but twice. How much of that confidence in the way you pulled away the first go-round help you in the preparation for the second go-round here in this playoff run you're on right now?
Extremely a lot. I mean, especially, a group like Kettle Run, like you said, their offense, the well-coached team, the weapons they have, the schemes they do, the different formations they give. I mean, it's a team that makes you use all your hours every single day, preparing for them. There's no taking a break off or focus on one thing. So I think being focused that week, seeing the way the kids were in film sessions and getting stuff done. And then, we started off slow, and a lot of people felt the same thing, but hitting on the cues for offense to get thriving like that and the defense to finally knuckle down, I think that really take a lot of stuff. And that pretty much took that confidence and placed on his back. And then to get it and to see him again in 2 weeks, knowing the same thing, whether Quaker or not, it's still a great team. It's a well-coached team that you had to scheme for, and to respond in the same way. Definitely, it was a big lift, and I think our kids are riding that wave from that point. And we've definitely seen it so far this week. The focus locked in, just the little things kids are seeing in film and coming back and talking about. So, I mean, this group's got it together and they're locked in from that point. Now we just got to make sure we just execute it on Saturday.
We'll get to the Lafayette matchup here in just a moment, but give us the status of Caleb. Is he out for this game for sure? I know Trent Hayes has filled in rather well in his place. What's kind of his update, if you can provide one for us?
As of right now, we're going to keep Caleb out. The status of knees is not really confirmed of everything with us, and he hasn't really got a good amount of practice time where I feel comfortable putting him out there. So he will be out this week again.
Gotcha. We wish him all the best and a speedy recovery because he has been a talented young man who I know has been working his tail off for you all this year. Lafayette Rams, they're 11-2. They're playing their best football at the right time of the year, as you know, with Andy Lynn's crew that won a state championship during the COVID-shortened season. They beat Lake Taylor rather thoroughly after it was a tight ball game in the first half. They shellacked Heritage 49-0, which a lot of us expected that to be a closer ball game, and they've got a pretty potent passing attack. What do you see on film, and can you really kind of make a comparison to anybody that you've seen this year or in the past? Are they just unique in what they do? What do you see from Lafayette on the videotape?
Just seeing film. I mean, this is a team that's, like I said, is well coached, as equal all around. You don't have you have talented players, but you don't have a big superstar where you have to play in for or a double team. From that point, it's all equal all around. I mean, this offense is well oiled. It's not your sexiest offense ever in the world, but it's one that gets it done. And it's putting up 40 points the past 3 weeks. I mean, it's doing something to you. So we've been getting ready to prepare for it all week, but I mean, just seeing them on film, they execute to a T. They get stuff. They play downhill defensively. They get after it. They give you different looks here and there. The secondary plays well, can run with you. So, I mean, it's going to be a hit it in the mouth kind of game. And, it's going to be main ones who can take care of the ball going forward and who can get down to the end and execute at the end of the day and who can stop the other one from executing. So this is your prime regional game, semi-state game that you want to see to make sure, it will. And I think it's a great test for us to see what we can do defensively against his offense, and at the same time, see how our offense can expand, continue what we're doing against their defense. So great group. They got there especially well coached, but definitely you see the coaching is really the big part of that.
For sure. I'll get you out on this. Everybody says, football games are won with running the ball, stopping a run, whoever can, minimize the mistakes. But it feels like this is going to be a really gut check for both sides, the line of scrimmage. This is a line of scrimmage type of game, which all football games are. But do you get that sense that early on that's going to set the tone in this matchup for you guys and them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just seeing what their line does on offense and especially defense. They got a very talented nose guard. Didn't catch the name of it. It was on my report somewhere, but it's going to come to the front. And then with the way our front gets off the ball offensively against their defensive front, then our defense to be able to get with that front and read the keys. I mean, they're run the misdirection, they run power right at you, they run, full speed. Everything they do is full speed. So can't second guess yourself. You just got to be really locked in on what your assignment is and do your job. I think if everybody does their job and still does what we preach as a defense to tackle, turnover, touchdowns, then we'll come out successful at this.
Should be a fun one over at Brentsville District, where they will play host to Lafayette in the Class 3 state semifinals. Tigers at 12-1, Rams at 11-2. Winner moves on to Liberty University in Lynchburg for the state championship on December the 9th against whoever prevails in the Liberty Christian versus William Byrd matchup. I'd ask you about that game, Coach, but I know you're worried about your game. You'll worry about Byrd or LCA if you get through this one. You can't focus on those other two teams at this time of the year. It's all about one day at a time, one game at a time. So we'll wish you all the best, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and we'll chat again with you soon.
All right, appreciate you, Matthew. Thanks so much.
That's the head coach at Brentsville District. 3 consecutive regional championships. They've got Lafayette on deck here as they try to get the state championship. Loren White here from Brentsville District. We'll take a timeout and come back with more here as we finish up our discussion, analysis, and more on the high school football state semifinals. You're watching On the Hash with Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. And wherever you're tuning in, also on VirginiaPreps.com, as well as our Twitter and XV with 757 Sports Talk and Facebook. We'll hear from some of our sponsors that make this possible for us at the Plex. Stay tuned.
As a banker at Town Bank, we believe that people bank with people, not with banks. You're looking for an actual personal relationship, and that's what you get at our bank. You get that person that gets to know you, gets to know your business, is there for you. I think that is what motivates us, what drives us. And the idea that we are trying to serve others and enrich lives, I think is very true.
The DQ Cheeseburger Lovers Deal. 2 singles for $5 or 2 doubles for $7 for a limited time. So, how is it? Deal this good speaks for itself, I guess. DQ, happy tastes good.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
I'm unmuted now. Now you can see me and hear me talk. Only you can see me talking. You can hear me talking. Back here on The Hash with the Hatfield. Like, share, and subscribe to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel for so much more when it comes to the high school sports and the high school football that we will be chatting about through the state championship games, which are just 8 days away. I'll be up at UVA calling the finals at Scott Stadium for the NFHS Network. You can always subscribe there and check out the action. Andy Hayes and I will be on the call for the finals there. Also, you can hear yours truly and Jack Hayes on the call for the championship games in the semifinal games on Saturday at Powhatan Field in Norfolk. We've got Maury Indian River coming your way as well. But let's go through some of the picks I have for these games coming up here on Saturday as we bring back the share screen, as we will share the screen and go through my selections of who I've got winning these games coming up in the – let's go from the 1 to the 6 up here as we will look at it now in this direction. Essex out to Vista. I've got Essex winning this game by a couple scores, something like 27-13. The thing that just struck me about this team before the year was they had a guy that was a center before this year playing quarterback in Zay Bundy, but they run the ball well. Their starting running back was out, but Brian Roan, the defensive player of the year, I think he'll make some big hits, and they'll just be very difficult to deal with in this game for Alta Vista, which has had a nice year, but this might be the rubber meets the road here for them. Matt Deloach doing well for that Cardinals program. Galax Honaker. Galax is old school Tedron Tucker. He's a guy that runs the ball. I think he's run it 330 times this year. We got a full preview from our man Robert Anderson on VirginiaPreps.com for folks to check out and read and peruse. But the air raid attack with Peyton Music to Parker Bandy, I don't think anybody in Class 1 can deal with it, and I'm going to give Honaker the edge in this game. Do think there will be some points scored on the board, and I do think this could be a little bit of a back-and-forth shootout type of game. Honaker's defense has leaked some oil at times, but push comes to shove. I'm going to go with the Tigers in this one to get it done. As we move to the Class 2 picture of my selections there, as we go up there to see who's going to Salem with the teams from Class 1. Riverhead's Poquoson. Haven't talked a lot about this game here. I feel like, Poquoson has different ways that they can hand the ball off to different backs, through the counters, some of the sweeps, some pitches up the middle. And I think that they will be ready for Riverhead's physicality. Now, Riverhead's throws the ball about 3% of the time. They've thrown, I think, 31 passes all year. Caden Cook-Cash, known as Triple C, is just a monster running the ball. And we'll see if Riverheads has some guys on defense step up besides him to really make some tackles and be firm and maybe come up with a timely takeaway or two. Because I think that's the way, if you're going to beat Riverheads, is you've got to win the turnover battle. Both want to have long time-consuming drives. I just think Riverheads plays that type of game a little bit better than Poquoson. The way to beat Poquoson is maybe through the air passing the ball. Riverheads doesn't throw the ball much. So I'm surprised that many people think this is going to be a blowout. I think Elliott Duty's team is going to come ready to play. I would like their chances better if Grady Inslee, their key lineman, was not hurt. But between Khalil Smith and Baker Green and you get Little the ball, different guys can touch it, and I think we'll have some success on this Riverheads defense. I think there will be some points in this game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means. And the kicking game could decide this. Poquoson, if they can control the field position and win the kicking game, that can swing things in their favor here. Don't rule out them going on the road here and having a chance to win this game, because they play Lafayette well. And that's a really physical team out of the Bay Rivers, and they held up better in that game than I thought they would. And those linebackers with Bullard and company, they stepped up just a couple weeks ago in a game we saw against King William. Radford Graham, it's a fascinating matchup with the two stud players between Tydrez Clements and Landon Clark. Clements for Graham, Clark for Radford. I want to see who's going to be that X-factor guy that steps up and maybe determines things. Graham's got a couple of those guys. Maury Hill in the trenches, Chris Edwards. Who's going to be Radford's guy? Max Knipes catching the ball from, obviously, Clark. Do they have a guy on the defensive line that really makes a play, like strips the ball, gets a fumble recovery for Graham? I was leaning with Radford a couple weeks ago, but after that tussle with Glenver, I've kind of swung back towards Graham's direction and give them the slight nod in this game to make it to the state finals against the winner of Poquoson Riverhead. So I'm going to say a Graham Riverheads matchup, and I think Graham's going to take that if we get it. Too much speed for Graham. I think this will be a game where they show a lot of that speed as well against Radford. That could be the best game of the entire state semifinal weekend. Graham and Radford. You're splitting hairs. I give Graham like a 51% edge to the 49% edge. And I got a surprise upset coming for folks that I'm sure are going to be upset with me, especially in a 7-5-7 here in just a moment. Looking at Lafayette, Brentsville District. Would have liked Brentsville's chances much better if they had a healthy Caleb Alexander. We appreciate Loren White for coming on the pod, but I got to go with Lafayette here. I think Elijah Matthews could have a big game here from them on the outside against Brentsville, and I like just their chances of taking this one against the Tigers on the road. Though I think Brentsville will give a better showing than they did the last 2 years against Phoebus. I don't see this being a one-sided affair by any means, any stretch of the imagination. Liberty Christian, William Byrd, great story on Virginia Preps on Israel Hairston for William Byrd, the quarterback, do-it-all, multi-sport athlete who has just been splendid for the Terriers and Coach Brad Lutz's team. They have a lot of different guys that are stepping up besides him as well. But Liberty Christian has a guy in Gideon Davidson. You get on that horse and you ride him. He is a beast. And then you've got Woodard and Ware in the trenches. Too much for the Terriers, I think, in this game. Ed Young has it in our picks on Virginia Preps as a much more one-sided game than I do. I think Byrd will move the ball and score because of Hairston's presence, and he does have some guys that are stepping up, making some things happen for him, catching the football as weaponry around him. I don't think this is just the Hairston show. Certainly you look at on the defensive side of the ball, John Kiker's been big. Jonathan Rosser's a 6'4" kid. Keep an eye on him, by the way. And they have, pretty physical O-line. So I don't think this is just a deal where Elliott Gaines, by the way, 6'4" receiver for them. I think they'll hang in this game, but I think second half is where Liberty Christian, despite not being deep, Davidson will wear on you. And Jeb Moon at quarterback, he's slippery. He is not an easy quarterback to bring down. He can escape the pocket on a 3rd and 5 and get a first down that sort of demoralizes you when you think you've got them pinned up and bottled up. Class 4, Tuscarora Salem, real quickly. Tuscarora to me is still the biggest mystery, undefeated team in the state as far as 12-0. Haven't been beaten yet. They've had a great year. But can they slow down Peyton Lewis in the Salem ground attack? That's what I wonder about. Tuscarora's had an awesome defense. And offensively, can they avoid the takeaways that Salem's been getting? Chris Cole's got like 4 or 5 pick sixes this year. He has been a menace there. Their secondary stepping up. I think Salem's running into form at the right time. Don Holter's team, I give them the nod here. Phoebus King George, been back and forth on this game all week long. And folks, I'm the lone man on the limb here, and I might fall off the limb and look like a total fool. I'm going King George to knock off the Phantoms. I just feel like this is asking a little too much. Phoebus has had just an unbelievable run. They probably should win this game because of their line play and their physicality and their defense. I just think, you put a freshman quarterback in a spot, and I think King George's defense is a little better than people give it credit for. Now, they got to run the ball effectively, And they might need their QB to make a few plays with his feet because, Phoebus is going to do what they can to try to keep Mekhi White and Chance Wiggins from beating them over top. Problem is, they're going to probably get one or two of those. And will Phoebus's offense function enough in this spot? I tell you, I want to know the health and effectiveness of Charles Johnson for King George. Runs the ball for him as a second option and was the defensive player of the year in Region 4B. If he's dinged up like I hear he is, that could actually swing things back towards Phoebus for me. But I'm going out on a limb here and picking King George. I just think those receivers are so good, and I think they will find them and make things happen. Class 5, I got Maury comfortably over Indian River. Indian River's been a great story. I love Jordan Harris, what he's done this year for them, and they have other guys like Camille Mason who stepped up, Hyson Gordon, Johnny Shaw, John Hort. I want to shout those kids out because they've had a great year stepping up after a 3-3 start when it was looking kind of squeamish. And Tyler Allison has been more of a game manager and been a prudent decision maker from the quarterback spot. This is a tough spot, though, against Maury. I think Maury's going to be playing with his hair on fire. I just don't see them. Last year they were not healthy. Outside of Wiggins' injury, they're pretty healthy. From Daniels to Johnson to Watford and company on defense, Leslie Hines and Bless Mack. They have so many different guys that can step up and get it done. Matoka Stonebridge, I think Matoka with Caleb Williams, watch out for him on the defensive line. He's a real dude. He is tough. Bryce Yates, still a Newton short. Receiver can make plays, but Naheem Gladding, remember his name for Stonebridge. I think he has a big game for the Bulldogs, catching the football from Brandon Pena, and they will end up getting the win. And in Class 6, I'm looking at a couple more games here before we sign off. And looking at the rest of the bracket here, we will look at Highland Springs and Lake Braddock. Highland Springs, I think, will take this game over Lake Braddock. Like the Springers, Lake Braddock's had a nice year. Coach Doherty and company. I just don't know if they have enough defensively to hold up against Eric Bird, who's really running with a full head of steam and power right now. Christian Martin, he's a dual threat at quarterback, and I think he's starting to round into form too at the right time of the year. And Freedom Madison, it's a rematch game. I love what Coach Counts has done with the Warhawks. They replaced so many seniors, and they keep getting it done. Dominic Nicely, Darren Nicely. They've had Cord Yates. They've had all these different weapons the last couple of years, but this is a spot here where I just think it's going to be hard for them to hold up against Juju Preston, Jeff Overton, and the game breakers that Freedom has with Tristan Evans closing in on some state passing records. So I like the Eagles of Freedom to get that done by multiple scores in that game. Just a tough matchup for Coach Counts and Madison. That's going to do it for this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Make sure, again, you like, share, and subscribe to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We're on Facebook. We're streaming as well on Twitter or X and VirginiaPreps.com. And enjoy your state semifinal Saturday, and we'll do it again next week before the state championship Saturday, breaking down the 6 title games, the top 2 in Class 6 and Class 5 at UVA, the Class 4 and Class 3 at Liberty University in Lynchburg, and, of course, Class 1 and Class 2 going on in Salem. Talk to you next time